Hello. Welcome to. We're finally back with our 3D bootcamp for CADA Trumax. It's been a while. I think last time we did it was back in. When was that? Like May or something last year? Oh no, this year. Yeah, I think it was May. It's been a while. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Just in case, we're using a new microphone, so in case there's problems with the mic, let us know.
Yeah.
You should be able to hear us loud and clear right now.
Yeah, do let us know how it sounds, if it sounds cool or not. So today, we will be doing some introduction to sculpting using the program ZBrush Core Mini. Today, we are two new people. You might not have seen us. We have been on previous bootcamps before. My name is Mito.
Yep, I'm Bowie. We're both still students here at Trumax. One about to depart very soon though.
Is the background music? Oh, it is.
Oh, it is super loud. Okay, that's awkward. Yeah, let's just turn that down for now.
That's not bad.
You came to listen to music, guys. I'm sorry.
Wait, we can do this. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's very faint. Yeah, we're just gonna turn it off all the way down. We're not here for music.
Does the music sound fine? Just as a small little background thing. It's cool. Otherwise, let us know. So, but we're students at CADA Trumax. Currently, I'm on my 7th semester, meaning I am interning at a company, and
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd semester, so still studying. We're getting a lot of guest teachers from the industry right now. Recently, we had a man named Eric, who is an animator, who's been working at Pixar, Disney, pretty much all the animation giants out there. So he's been teaching us for a week, which is very valuable. Yeah,
pretty cool stuff. So yeah,
it's nice, pretty nice. And today we're gonna do sculpting.
Yeah,
well, introduction.
I also wanna just go through what we will be doing from now on when it comes to 3D bootcamping. Right now, the format isn't completely done for how we want to create these bootcamps. Most of the time, you'll be seeing me for the bootcamps. Today, I have Bowie with me for some sculpting and teaching you guys some of that cool stuff and introducing you to that so you can play with it on your own time. Is the music still?
The music is turned. It should be turned off.
Did we just turn it off?
It's kind of like that. We'll just mute it.
Yeah,
there you go. Mute it. Done. No music. Failed experiment.
So, but yeah, you'll mostly be seeing me. Today we're obviously doing sculpting, and then the next couple of times every Wednesday at 5:30, we will have things such as modeling as well, animation and texturing. And then in the future, past this month, we will also be doing physical bootcamps, meaning that you can come out and have like a physical lesson with also probably me teaching in these different things. And other students that also know about different subjects in 3D. That could be really cool to basically introduce you guys and have some of our fellow students.
You'll see how the student life is out here. Yeah. How they really treat. No,
but yeah, so that's kind of the plan for the future, and to teach you guys. It's mostly all of it is mostly introduction, meaning that if you're already experienced in 3D, it might not do as much. We mostly want to introduce you into the I guess
the learning
sphere,
process.
Yeah, the sphere of what 3D is, and so you can start playing with it on your own, and then maybe down the line go a bit further into some more advanced things that might be interesting as well.
Yeah.
Rather than just introduction, meaning that if you were to keep on watching and joining the different boot camps, you would still be able to learn something and not just have it be a repeating process every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to introduce myself a bit more as the teacher-ish that you'll be having most of the time throughout the boot camps every week. I am currently, like I said, on my 7th semester, interning at a place called Betadorf, working on games at that place. I'm working as an animator. So my specialty specifically, or where I specialize in, is mostly animation. But because of our school TrueMax, CADA TrueMax, we obviously learn all the different things, meaning that we all get the knowledge of a lot of these different subjects in 3D. So that also means we know more than just what we personally want to specialize in, because that's kind of like the premise of the school that we go to.
Leaving the school, you leave a generalist and know a little bit about everything.
Yeah, which is really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
But then obviously we get to go further into some interests in specialization, and for that, I specifically went into animation. But yeah. So today.
That's it. I'm going to be a guest teacher today. My name is Bowie, if you missed it earlier, and I'm still a student at CADA, 3rd semester, and I have decided to sort of specialize in sculpting, specifically for environments. I love doing that nitty-gritty stuff. Today we're not going to do as much as an environment, as much as I'm just going to introduce you guys to ZBrush, to the different brushes, how it works, and how you can get started on creating your own small little creatures and everything. So yeah, we're definitely going to have fun. And we'll both be answering questions for the way reading chat room. This is sort of just an introduction. So how to create a sphere in ZBrush, we'll get started and I'll show you. But for those of you who don't have it, we pinned a link in the chat for ZBrush Mini Core. It's free. And in case you do not have a drawing tablet with pen pressure, it can be any drawing tablet, you can use your mouse. Use your mouth. You can use your mouth, maybe. You can use a mouse. It is a lot more difficult, but it's possible. So if you'd like to still follow it, you definitely still can.
So yeah, and throughout the process of, so we're aiming for about being done around 19 or 7, and then throughout that process we'll be going through this ZBrush thing. It will be Bowie that's doing the ZBrushing, and I'll be sitting here on the side and having a conversation with everyone as well. And just like you can like hit us with questions and whatever you're curious about when it comes to, it can either be like industry related, 3D related, or what we're doing like specifically now if you're falling behind, or about our school as well, since we are a school called CADA TrueMax, where we teach people 3D. I'm saying it as if I'm not a student, but I'm also a student, so I'm in that learning process as well. But I'm done in a bit, so this is my last semester. When I'm done with my internship, then I'm going into the industry officially, and then I won't be attending the school anymore. But yeah.
As for animations, maybe in the last 10-15 minutes you can get up something, or I'm not going to promise anything away. Today won't be about animation, but if you return on the day of animation, because Mito will be your teacher, maybe you can talk a little bit more about it there.
For animation specifically?
I think they asked if they could see your
the animation. I mean,
your animation specifically.
If we find time, we can definitely try and pull up some things that maybe either of us have done as well. Maybe some of his sculpts, because that would be pretty interesting to see.
We'll see it.
But yeah, and then I see also that navigation in ZBrush has a bit.
We'll go over navigation, everything. I promise you'll get more comfortable with using ZBrush. To begin with.
It's gonna be a very beginner friendly.
We're gonna go over everything. Right now, you've only been looking at us and a ball. So should we just begin?
Yeah. Why not? I also see a question: Does CADA have online learning, or is it's Copenhagen based only? For attending the school specifically, it has to be physical. For now, I'm pretty sure.
And we only have a school based in Copenhagen at the moment.
Meaning we don't do online lessons, though we do have a program called
Essentials,
3D Essentials, that basically goes through what we're teaching you here, but in a lot more specific like tasks and stuff that isn't just like introductions to the program and stuff. You get to do a bit more, and then being able to share a lot of these things that you learn throughout that in another thing. But the course isn't that big, so it's not off the scale of our school, which is a 3.5 year education, which is obviously pretty long, and the online course that we have for that isn't as long in any way.
And any questions? Yeah, just ask away. Don't worry, you don't have to ask for permission. But yeah, should we get started, guys?
Yeah, sure.
First things first. For today, I am using ZBrush Core Mini. You can find the download link in the pinned message. Secondarily, I am using, and it's kind of difficult to show you guys, but I'm using a display tablet. You can use any tablet. You don't have to use the display. As you can see, mine is black right now. I'm just going to use it as a drawing board. And this tablet is called Canvas 13, and it's by Huan. So that's the tablet I'm going to be using today for what I'm going to show you guys. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, quickly, if you want to just shotgun some things, we'll get started. But
yeah, I'll just yeah, you can just ask away. Feel free to just, and then we can take the questions over time. I'll be able to pay attention to the questions while we're going through the different things. The course is called 3D Essentials. I think you can find it on our website at CADA something.
CADA.edu. It's in the description. It's CADA-edu.com. I'm pretty sure, but otherwise check the description. And does our school help with internships and jobs? They do help you with internships if you can't find anything by yourself, but one of the core essentials that this school is going to teach you is how to think and become more independent. So once you get far enough to get an internship, they will expect you to reach out at first, but if you're having a really difficult time, the school does have connections, and it has helped previous students finding internships.
Yeah, I managed to secure my internship on my own, and that's also because of all the learning we get from like making, for example, portfolio, being able to show off and contacting all these different companies, and then obviously if your stuff is good enough, they will like put in, like look out for you and take an interest in your work and contact you. But the school is there to help as well, to basically get you on the way to get an internship. And yeah,
perfect. All right, we're gonna get starting. Remember, today is a introduction to ZBrush, so more advanced questions, I'll try and answer them. I do use the normal program, but I'm gonna try and stick to more beginner-friendly questions so everybody can follow along. Will internships be possible? You can't intern at this school as an intern, you as far as I understand.
I think what they mean is that are you able to get an internship after you've gone to these boot camps? No, this is very, very beginner level.
Yeah.
When it comes to 3D, which means it's only like putting you through the basics, and then you personally have to put in a lot of time if you want to do it on your own. Put a lot of your free time into honing your own skills and then building yourself up to a level where companies feel like they could use you for production as well. So that is where, for example, our school CADA Max comes in, because that helps you basically get along that way and make that process easier to get to the level that you need to be industry ready. Yeah.
All right. So I'll quickly just get these questions out of the way so we can get started, but any recommendations for a tablet? The only thing I would really consider is whether you want a display tablet that kind of works as a secondary monitor, or if you want a non-display tablet. Personally, non-display tablets are cheaper, and they're often sturdier, so I would either get I trust Huon, and I also trust, what are they called? The other one. I totally forgot. Cintiq by...
I don't remember.
I forgot what they're called. Huon is a good way to go by it, but otherwise, that would be my recommendation. As for the question about Maya and versus ZBrush when it comes to hard surfacing, the question you got to ask yourself is the workflow, and not necessarily which one is better. ZBrush has an easier time with booleaning, but there are other elements where ZBrush is having a more difficult time. There's no better program. So I can't really tell you which one to kind of go after. It's basically what if you work for a company, what they decide, and it's also dependent on what workflow suits you the best. You can use ZBrush for hard surface, and you can use Maya for hard surface. Personally, I use Maya for hard surface, and ZBrush for details and stuff like that. But anyways, let's get started with ZBrush Core Mini. So, if you guys launch up the program, you should be seeing something similar to me. If there is no sphere in the middle, you simply navigate to the top left of the program. You hover over the arrow with the sphere, and it says create a new sphere mesh. We're just going to click this button, and it's going to ask you if you're okay with closing your current project. Just say yes to that. Or sorry, just say no to that so it doesn't save. I apologize. So just say no to that, and now you should be having a perfect new reset scene. Can you use an iPad for a tablet? I don't know how iPads work with connecting it to a computer, but I do know that ZBrush is coming out and developing their own standalone program for iPads. It's still they're still making it, but yeah. But yeah, all right. No worries, Ito. Try your best. If you have any questions, ask away.
And yeah, we're gonna get into the 3Ding for a bit, and then we'll come back to some of the questions that you guys have.
Yeah.
I'll try and pay attention to the different questions that you guys come up with. So you don't get skipped out.
Yeah. And if we do end up missing a question, just ask again. For me, there wasn't a sphere by default. Had to add it manually. Okay. Yeah. In that case, you just click up here. You say no, and you get a completely reset scene with a sphere. So, first things first, let's go over the UI elements. On the left-hand side, you can see you have your different brushes that all do different things. They work in different ways. By default, the program has this button up here turned on, the one that's highlighted in orange. It's symmetry. You can press X to disable it and enable it, or you can... and whenever it's disabled, it doesn't light up. Let's go over navigation real quick. So, if you want to zoom out, there's multiple ways of doing it. On the right-hand side, you have something called Move, where if you just click down on the Move button and hold it and then move your mouse or your pen, it starts moving. Similarly to if you go to the Zoom 3D, you can hold down on the button, and if you drag up and down, it's going to start moving. Now, this is not the greatest way of moving around because you don't want to have to press a button every time. So the way you do it in ZBrush, which is very unique, is that if you want to zoom out, you first hold down Alt, then you left click or just click with your pen on an open space on your canvas. Then you let go of Alt while holding down left click. And now, you can just hover up and down while holding down. This is by far the most obnoxious thing to learn in ZBrush, but once you got it down, it's easy to start navigating. Otherwise, just use the Zoom 3D function. If you have a mouse, you can just scroll. Yeah.
The video will, or the stream specifically, will be saved on our channel, so you can always go back and watch it in case you do fall behind. Just want to put that out there.
Absolutely. If you want to just pan back and forth to get a better view of your model, you can hold down Alt, click and hold out into the open space, and you just, wherever you put your pen at this point or your mouse, it's going to follow. If you don't hold down Alt, it's going to rotate. And right now, because we have a perfectly symmetrical sphere, it's a little difficult to see what side you're on. So that's why in the top right, you have this little guy with his face. And if he's facing towards you, it means you're facing the front of the sphere, and vice versa. So now you can see how he's rotating 180 degrees, and that's because I'm rotating the sphere. Is there a way to make axes visible? I believe there is, if you go up to the top right of your program, you can click on the floor, and there's small, tiny little axes. You can click them on, and that way you get this translucent axis. They're kind of difficult to see. Sadly, you can't do more in ZBrush Mini Core. Is there a button for returning to default? There is not, but you can press F and it zooms in on your mesh that you have.
It basically takes the average of your whole mess and tries to figure out where the middle is, and then it's just going to try and
Yeah.
see.
So if you're lost and you're looking kind of like this right now, you can press F, and then it should zoom back in. All right. So let's get into something more interesting. So going back to the UI. If you look on the left-hand side of the UI, you have a bunch of different brushes that all do different things. We're going to go over every single brush later, but for now, just know that this is your brush menu. Here you can do all kinds of different things, and this is going to be the fun part we'll go over a little bit later. So, beneath those brushes, we also have a current color space. This is not particularly useful, but if you want to change the color of whatever you're working on, you certainly can. I just like keeping it a default and a natural color because that's sort of what I've become used to, and it's easier to see whenever I sculpt. And the last thing is you have the materials. Materials are interesting because they can, if you change to a gold, they actually change how the material is rendered. And you can get something more shiny if you're, for example, working on metal.
And all these different, like, usually it's recommended that you just stay on one of the basic ones, like the madcap.
Yeah, madcap gray.
Because it can, when you're working with these different like sculptures, it can become very hard to see details of what you're making when you're sculpting on it. And these madcaps and stuff, or the basic material, I think there's one called as well. They pretty much try and stay as close to like giving you as much information as possible without like distorting a lot of things, such as gold would, for example.
Yeah,
because
it's very reflective, very intrusive. Yeah, by the way, very good question. So if you've been playing around like I like to do, because we're all artists and we want to do some weird stuff, if you've been playing around and you want to go back to square zero, you just press Control-Z. And for every time you press Control-Z, it goes back. So that's a good way to undo your work if you've done something you don't like. The last button you need to be aware of on the left-hand side is the occlusion. So occlusion is short for ambient occlusion, and right now you can't really see anything. I would recommend to turn this on, because what it does is whenever we, let me make something just to showcase it. So let's say I have this big indent right here, and it's very aggressive. Now, if I turn on occlusion, it will start showing my edges with a darker color. If you turn the intensity up, the edges will be even more prominent. This is a good way to see all your details. I will just leave it at 50 is fine. You can turn it up, but this is up to you. So it's a very small difference, but once you start making really, really detailed models, this is a great thing to have on. Yeah, of course, I see. If you go down to the bottom left, there's a gray map. You just click it right here. Is there a way to... This heart is in my way right now. Is there a way to shade, smooth the object? Yeah, we'll go over all the different brushes and I'll teach you how to smooth things. We're just going to go over the last couple of UI elements. So the last things that you guys need to know that is very important is if you hold down S and you click, if you hold down S and you pan left and right, you should have the options for a draw size. This is a super, super nice and quick way to change your draw size. You can also do it up here in the menu if you're using a mouse and it's a little bit easier. Similarly, if you hold down U, you can change the intensity. The intensity changes how intense your given brush is when you're using it. So right now we are at 27%. If we turn it up, we're at 100%. And you can see it really, whenever I click now, it's really aggressive when I'm building.
Oh, smooth shading, not smooth brush.
Oh, smooth shading. Okay, I understand what you're asking. In ZBrush Mini Core, the answer is no. But as we start building on our sculpture, it's going to start becoming higher resolution, and you won't see the low resolutions. Like it'll smooth out more, and you won't see all these smaller pixelated things.
When it comes to ZBrush and working with ZBrush, similar to Blender, also having a sculpting mode. but it is that you work in a lot of polygons, meaning there are a lot of those small squares. Maybe you can show the one to the right. Like
Oh yeah, there we go.
basically all these different small squares. And in sculpting, a lot of these will appear because you're trying to make like something look very smooth and very nice and very high quality. Whereas when it then comes to production, you would take like a high polygon model and then you would make it less polygons to make it production ready, because you can't really work with that many polygons. Meaning, for the whole smooth shading thing, it doesn't really become that big of a problem. Because everything's very, very high density. But again, what he said, that ZBrush Core Mini doesn't have a function specifically to make this. It's very limited with the tools it has. So sadly, we're only stuck to the tools that it has in this one, and that's because it's free for everyone to use, and the actual version is much more in depth, but it sadly is incredibly expensive as well. So this is more of an introduction to the very, very basic nature of sculpting digitally, and that's what we're going to stay within. So sadly, any more advanced questions, we can maybe answer them later, but for now, we're kind of going to stick to the very basics. I see, by the way, it sounds like you're using a different version of ZBrush, because we're using the ZBrush Core Mini version, and there it should always be defaulted to Madcap Gray. You might. I also see that Sean is running into some issues with not the sphere not being there when opening the program and such. And it also sounds like it's another version of the program, because this is very limited. So you might have like accidentally downloaded there's a core version that is free for like a certain amount of time, which means that your menu might look different from ours, which is why the occlusion button isn't there either. Today we're going to be teaching ZBrush Core Mini, so sadly everything related to that will be around here. Maybe we'll find some time and we'll try and answer your questions, because obviously we'd love to help you out. But we're a bit limited on showing what we're able to show as well, because right now we mostly want to introduce people who don't have access to the other programs, just to get started with the concept of sculpting. Let's move on. So we know how to zoom. We zoom by holding down Alt, clicking out in the empty canvas, letting go of Alt, and then boom. We know how to pan. You hold down Alt, and you go left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. And we know how to rotate. You just click out on the empty canvas, and here you go. So let's start and getting used to some brushes, and let's have some fun. And the reason why we're using ZBrush Mini Core Mini is because not everybody has access to the normal ZBrush. I believe the average ZBrush costs around $1,000 to buy right now. So if you want access to that, it's very expensive. And for students such as Mito and I, we don't have that kind of money. So we obviously use the actual program at school for the different projects we do, but because we want this course or this bootcamp to be very beginner friendly, then we're choosing to show off with the free one. That's also why that in the future for these different bootcamps, we are thinking about the physical bootcamp. For the people who are able to attend physically, they will be able to play with the more industry standard programs that you cannot afford on your own. So you'd be able to come here and try the programs on our PCs and get like lessons in that, which would be an opportunity as well for you. Your pen doesn't work. It's normal. The navigation system is the same in the normal ZBrush. Hold down Alt, click out in the empty canvas. So not on your model. Don't click on your model. Click out in the empty canvas. Hold down left click, and then just pan. That's how it works, both in both normal ZBrush and everything else. There is history where you can undo, but there is no history where you can click anywhere now. All right, so let's get into it. So let's go over the different brushes we have. Some of them are really fun, some of them are less fun, starting with the standard brush. So I'm going to be working with symmetry turned on. That is the button up here, glowing yellow. You can also press X to turn it on. So if yours isn't glowing yellow, or if you don't get a second red little dot, then just press X and it should show up. So
The standard brush, as you can tell, is a very smooth. It's a very smooth and very delicate brush. You can use it to make a bunch of different lumps, and it's a great way to make larger shapes. So if you want to put in some eyebrows, if you want to put in a nose, like just get a general idea, you can easily get some good figures out, as you can see here. What's really cool about ZBrush is that as well as you can add, you can also remove from a mesh. So let's say we want to make eyeballs for this little character we have here. We have added the eyebrows here. We got the nose right here. If you hold down Alt and then you sculpt where you want to do it, like so, you, instead of adding, you're now removing mesh. So this could be a cool way to make some eye sockets for your character. So as you can see, the shortcut for undoing last action is Control-Z. I can type in chat.
Control-Z.
Oh yeah, Z, sorry. Depending on who you...
Z, it might be more common for people to hear.
In Europe. Oh,
yeah.
Whoops. Not that. Control-Z. Sorry.
Same thing.
Yeah. So if you hold down Alt, and this is not just with the standard brush, it's with any brush, you can now remove some topology. Cool. Now, let's go over and use a different brush. So right now I made a quick nose, I made some eyebrows, maybe I even want to add a mouth. But one thing we all know is that if we're making a human skulls are typically not spherical like a perfect ball. So if we wanted this to look a little bit more humane, what we could do is we could use the move brush. So I'm going to click on the move brush, and I'm going to expand how large it is. I want to grab a large portion of my character's face, so the bigger it is, the more it can grab. And the move tool does exactly what it says. It moves mesh. So if I go, and this is a really, really nice shortcut for you guys to know, if you rotate the character and you hold down Shift, he locks into place. He locks into a certain axis, so if you want to view him from the side, you can just hold down Shift, rotate, and sometimes you need to be really harsh about it. Sometimes you can rotate first and then hold down Shift. So rotate, hold down Shift. Rotate, hold down Shift.
Basically,
rotate, hold down Shift. It just snaps onto whatever axis you're trying to go to. Is there anything faster than Control-C? Sadly, in ZBrush Mini Core, no. In normal ZBrush, yes. You have a whole line of history where you can just go to the point you want to go to. But in ZBrush Mini Core, you have to press Control-C. So if I rotate to the left-hand side, or whichever side, just so I can see him from the side, and I go to his chin, and I make sure that my brush is at a decent size, so let's say 300, and I make sure that symmetry is turned on, I can now start pulling out, maybe even bigger, make it 400. I can start pulling out a shape to make sure that he looks a little bit more like a human being. So pull back the back of his head, make it a little bit more oval and skull-shaped. Pull down here a little bit. Now we go back to the front view, and we see he's kind of looking a little funny. How did you do the eyes while deleting mesh? If you take out the standard brush again, and you hold Alt, you can... It doesn't technically delete mesh, but it makes an indent in the mesh.
So basically, every time you use or hold Alt while using a brush, it does the opposite of what you would expect it to do. So, for example, we have the move brush as well. You can hold Alt, and then whenever you press on something, it basically takes it inwards instead, or moves in like a specific way. And you can use Alt for all the different brushes. That's a way to make those indents with a lot of things.
Yeah. So now we're going back to the front view, and we're just shaping him in. And guys, don't worry about following my steps. Create whatever you want to create. What I'm trying to show you is just how the brushes work, and then you'll have free game to make whatever you want to make. And later, I'm going to show you a brush that's going to change everything for you guys. That's going to make this really fun. Let's just, make his shape. Maybe he's got a little chop going on. On the side, the sides of most human skulls are actually pretty flat. So we want to make sure to kind of do something similar. So just shape it in, get like a good angle, shape, shape, shape. And now he's looking a little bit more like a human being. We don't have to make a human though. We can make whatever we want. So you know what? Let's let's do something like this.
Thankfully, ZBrush is very good at allowing you to be creative, and it's
Yes.
pretty much like sandboxing when it comes to 3D. It's where you can go a bit more crazy with things than you can with other programs and other lines of work, because it's basically just taking a real piece of clay and then you just go nuts on that. Which is very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a good time. So we made our character's head here. He has a prominent jawline, and he got a little chop going on, which is perfect. So let's go over the rest of the brushes. Not all, you won't necessarily need all brushes. So I'm just going to try and show you an instance for each brush. So let's use the clay buildup. So clay buildup has a really, really, really hard edge. So whenever you sculpt with it, you can immediately see, damn, this is maybe not something that would be too useful for a human character, which isn't entirely true. So sometimes the clay buildup is really good at building up clay, making really large proportions. So you could use clay buildup to make his eyebrows. So let's, make them more prominent. Maybe we want to make a barrel for his mouth, where his mouth is going to be. So we'll just sculpt that in a little bit. So because of our teeth in our mouth mouth actually extrudes a little bit outside. It's convex, I believe is what they call it. A little bit outside, so it's not flat. So we can make like a little barrel shape here.
And when it comes to this clay buildup, a lot of artists that use ZBrush use this as like the main tool.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to build up something rough and then kind of like shaping it down later on. It's really good at making like a base shape compared to some of the other brushes, like the standard brush, because it's very soft. It's a bit harder to control some of these strokes that you make, basically. It's also very subjective depending on the artist. A lot of people use the standard brush for a lot of things. But the clay build-up brush is one of the really nice tools to get like a baseline for shapes on a mesh.
Yeah, absolutely. There's many ways. What does it say? Every road leads to Rome, or something like that. There are many ways to get your result. But right now, this guy is looking all kinds of messed up. There's no human being that ever looks this way. So one of the things you can do is that if you hold down Shift and you go over your mesh, you start smoothing it out. So now we can get those a nice, slightly more fleshy look as opposed to the concrete. Now, you need to remember, when you're smoothing things out, it's similar to pouring acid on your sculpt. Imagine that you're sitting with a clump of clay and it has some really hard edges, and now you're pouring a little bit of acid on it to try and smooth it out. That's exactly the similar thing you're doing here. So you got to be a little careful when you do it, but you can get some really nice results.
Interesting way of putting it.
It's what I was taught. It's really cool. My teacher would be so proud of me right now.
I've never heard of that. Yeah, your teacher would be very proud.
So proud. So now we got some very defined cheekbones. We got a crazy chin. We got the start for his mouth, his nose, and we got his eyeballs. He's starting to look a little mean. But so hold down Shift if you want to get some smoother results. Let's go over the rest of the brushes. Inflate does exactly what Inflate says it does. It inflates your mesh. So if you want him to be like Mecha Mind, you can turn it really big and you can start making his head really large. And now he knows everything.
Well, he knows.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Remember, if you have any questions that are from later, just ask away. So if you want to make a dent in your mesh, you can take any brush, like the standard brush, hold down Alt, and then just sculpt. He's perfect for Halloween. I love that. So yeah, hold down Alt and you can sculpt on him. You're
basically making what's his name?
Megamind?
No. I was about to say Einstein, not Einstein.
I don't hope Einstein like this.
What's his name? The guy with the screws in his head.
Frankenstein. Frankenstein! Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. I see that now. Yeah.
His monster.
And just like that, sometimes you just accidentally. Yeah, let's make Frankenstein. That's actually fun.
Yeah, it's Halloween themed now.
That's
good.
It's
October.
So inflate just inflates. There's not much more to it. It's a cool way to get like a very smooth effect on something. By the way, if your mesh starts tearing like this, you can use the smooth button to sort of get more mesh. This is a little bit more advanced, but I'll explain it as simply as I can. If you press Shift F, your mesh will look like this. This is a real-time display of what all the small polygons connecting. So each face is also called a polygon, and when they connect, they create your mesh. In ZBrush Mini Core, all of this is automated. You have no control over it whatsoever, which is not ideal. But the reason why they do that is to allow you to focus on just sculpting and learning basic sculpting methods. You don't have to worry about how the mesh looks. So if you start seeing weird flaking, you can just hold down Shift and just start smoothing over, and you can actually see there's a number at the top middle of your screen saying active polygons. You can actually see that number go up whenever you start smoothing.
Or like jumping around. It's basically trying to make sure that all the polygons, they get like distributed nicely to make the mesh look smoother. That's why you can see by the edge of the forehead to top head ratio, you can see the polygons being a bit less smooth, and then at the actual head they're a lot more smoother. That's just because they haven't really been averaged out. So when you try to do the smoothing, it tries to interpret
bunch
what
of
it should be.
calculations.
Yeah, exactly. and try and smooth that out to make it look as nice as possible.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the pinch. Pinch is a very unique one. It can help you create a hard edge on a corner, if you like. So let's say we want this guy to have really defined cheekbones. You can actually use it to sculpt slightly more. It's very, you can see it's as, you have to use it a lot of times, like keep dragging it over the same spot. But the more I drag it, now you can really start seeing that, okay, this guy has some really defined cheekbones. Now let me actually, no, it doesn't do that.
Giga cheekbones.
Yeah, we can like maybe use it on his jawline to kind of help the jawline. You really have to drag it over more and more.
It's Giga Chad Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. This guy, he works out every day.
Yeah.
Maybe on the nose, if you want like a more prominent nose. In fact, one of the things you'll learn when using ZBrush is you always have to remember to check your character model from all angles, because as we can see right now, from the side, he looks a little strange. His nose is a little smushed in, so we can actually take it with the move brush.
It's a Voldemort-looking vibe.
Let's get him out there. Let's give him a true Frankenstein nose, like a real Jacob's bridge. And there we go. Maybe it's the same with his head. Let's give him a proper forehead, make him look real mean. Maybe take his Gigamind brain, just control it a little bit, still make it fun.
And here we use, to shape the general form of the head, we use the move brush a lot because it's very good at getting those bigger shapes in place.
Yeah.
And getting an overall, just an overall nice shape of the model.
Yeah, absolutely. The move brush is your best friend for moving larger portions of things. You can sometimes use it to show expressions in your character. So let's say we wanted him to be really angry. We could use the move brush to sort of try and slowly like really move him in and give him an angry expression. It's something I would watch out with doing, but it's a good way of kind of moving your mesh around. For now, we'll just give him a slightly angry look. And then we come to Snake Hook. Now, Snake Hook is really interesting. If you take Snake Hook and just make your brush really large, let's make it up into 400 size. You can drag out your mesh and it'll actually try and create, well, a snake hook. And now suddenly we don't have Frankenstein's monster, but we have a weird bull.
Devil or something.
How do I delete things? Like you use the brush, but you delete what you do? Oh, like if I were to delete, like you can press Control Z or Control C to undo. But if you want to, like, let's say you have this and you can't undo it, you could hold down Smooth and you can try and smooth it away. Like I said, it kind of works like acid. So you're slowly melting it, and then once you're down here, you can start moving it in and shaping it back. that could be a way of doing it. It looks like Squidward, handsome Squidward.
But again, with this program, we're kind of limited to what we can do to some things. So we gotta do with what we have, pretty much, and that's like the best budget way we can fix something like that, I feel.
Yeah, sadly. So snake hook is very simple. It's a good way of making fangs, horns. If you have to make like an elongated anything, like a tail, it's a great way of doing that too.
Or
Tentacles. That's good. Yeah. Baldur's Gate. Play
That's
it.
True. Yeah, some of them.
We're not sponsored yet.
Mind Flayer vibe. I also did that for my one model when I made my face.
Hell yeah.
Might be able to show some of our models later on, but yeah.
Yeah, let's hope. All right, so now we come to the slash. Now, slash is really good at making, if you want to make like a, let's say you have an urn, and you want to start making, what are those called?
Like the inscriptions?
Yeah, there's a word, like you want to start hacking away at it. Inscription, maybe. There's a word for it, and I can't remember it, but...
Like patterns.
Yeah, if you want to start making patterns like you've chiseled it away, you can use the slash tool, or the slash brush. Just click on it, and you can kind of get some indents, and you can start drawing. So let's say he's made out of rock, marble. You can sort of chip away, and we can start writing things like, I don't know, just... Here, I got a good idea. We can maybe in the back of his head, we can smooth this out to get a little bit more polygons going on. And then we can type something along the lines of, maybe it's a little too big, we'll make it smaller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
This is horrible, but you get the idea. It is also a great way to just make indents and define things. So, like, let's say that my nose doesn't feel defined enough. You could use the... I wouldn't use the slash for this. I would actually use the standard button. But in just this case, I'll show you what it looks like. So let's say we want to define his nostrils a little bit more. We can just make the brush really small. Go in and just start... Oh, let's turn on symmetry again. Sorry about that. And you can start kind of just defining areas, and then you can smooth it out to get the result you want. I would use standard for this, because as you can see, now it's a little too defined. But that is one of the methods you can use the brush for. Can you add other objects like a sphere or a torso? It's a very good question. Sadly, for ZBrush Mini Core, you cannot. If you were to want to add a torso to this guy, you would have to start building it from his body. So you would have to, let's say we want to add a neck to him. We can take the clay buildup, and we just start building right here, and build and build and build and build, and then we look at him from the front.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gonna look very messed up in the beginning, but don't worry about it. Just smooth it over. So we can give him like a chest. Can you make a scar? Yeah, absolutely, we could make a scar. So
I do also want to take some of the questions that
yeah, go crazy while I'm setting this up.
So we had a question from Maya. So both of you are working in the industry, right? How did you get your first job? So right now, Bowie is, we're both students, but Bowie is on his, what semester are you on?
First semester.
Are you on first semester?
Third.
Oh,
third semester.
Oh,
I restarted a couple of times.
Yeah. No, so Bowie's on his third semester, so he hasn't had the opportunity to get the industry experience yet. I am currently working at a place called Betadorf, which is a gaming studio, where I'm an animator and technically also a rigger and a tech artist. So I'm kind of doing a bit of everything when it comes to that department of, like, if you know what it is, but like rigging and such, which is basically creating the skeleton for a character, and then that when you've made that skeleton, it allows you to move the character as well for animation. That is also one of the things that I will explain later on in some of the next upcoming bootcamps for the next couple of weeks when we get to animation. I will talk a bit about rigging, just the basic of it. I won't be teaching the rigging, at least not for now. but I will explain like the whole process of how you get into animation and how it works, because it's actually a lot more technical than you think. If you're not experienced in 3D.
Yeah, definitely is a lot to it.
But yeah, so that's that.
May I ask how to change the brush size? Yes, if you press S, you should have a little menu pop up, and then you can just pan wherever you want it to be. It doesn't matter. Whenever you press S outside the canvas, it's always going to show up wherever your mouse is. So if our mouse is up here, S, it shows up, and you just click down, you choose your side, and you let go. If you click S over here, oh, okay. Well, now I managed to break my program. There we go. If you click S over here, just click it once. You choose your size, you let go. That's it. And it's the same thing with you. If you want to change the intensity, you change the size, let go.
You also have him at the top that shows like a more specific that you can do if you don't want to click the buttons. But usually when you're sitting and working, it's easier to learn the hotkeys for it, because that makes your workflow a lot faster and easier to work with, rather than having to move your mouse somewhere all the time to just change something like that. Then you can just do it on the fly, which feels very nice. So I do recommend that.
I think okay, you would have to go through your preferences and hotkey settings then, because obviously I don't know what you've changed yours to. But yeah, that would be how you do it default. All right. So earlier, unless is there more questions?
There's a bit, but if you have something specific, you can.
Oh yeah, I just want to quickly mention earlier somebody asked how you would make a body in ZBrush Mini Core. This would be the way of doing it. Take your clay build up and just start building until it kind of looks like something you want. It's not going to be perfect, and there are better ways of doing it in the main program. But for this, if you just want to build a body and you want to make more, you just slowly and steadily start building up more and more. And you use the brushes that we've gone over. We're still going to go over the rest. There's still a handful more. But yeah, this would be a way of doing it.
I'm going to see the same brush size changing tool as the default. It should be at the top in the normal ZBrush as well.
Oh yeah,
small button.
Yeah, in the default ZBrush,
it just looks a bit more different.
It is smaller. It is in the top. It doesn't look like this, but it's a slider and it's just a size.
Yeah.
It is in the top left-hand side. You'll just have to go look for it, sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we made a quick body, and remember, guys, you really don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. I'm just showing off the brushes as opposed to actually asking you guys to follow what I'm doing.
This is your time to be creative.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's nice.
It's like when you're learning and stuff, especially when it comes to 3D, students or people who are new to it have a big tendency to do exactly as what the teacher does, because it's like, okay, if that works for them, it has to work for me. But it just also makes it a bit less interesting to look at, because it's also art, and it's a way for us to create something that's different from everyone's, which is very nice. So don't feel locked into having to do exactly what Bowie's doing right here. Just like do whatever you feel like. It doesn't have to be a person either. You could do a dragon for that matter.
You can do a dragon, you could do an urn, you can do a wall, you could do anything. There's nothing that's not creative enough. Believe it or not, I am not a character artist. I do a lot more environment. So right now I would even consider myself uncomfortable is not the right word, but I would certainly say I'm more comfortable in other things. But you gotta just try things, accept what it looks like, and keep working on it. How can you see the same brush size changing tool as a default? You would have to, I would Google that. There's an easy suggestion for it. I'm sorry, but since you're using the normal ZBrush, then yeah. How do you smooth up clay again? Just hold down Shift and just go over your clay like this. The smaller your brush is, by the way, this is super important. The smaller your brushes, when you go over your mesh, the more mesh it adds.
And that's specifically in ZBrush Core Mini. So the people, I assume, Sean, I think you also have the normal ZBrush. So for your case, it doesn't really matter with the size of the brush.
Yeah, you can just smooth.
You can just smooth, because specifically with ZBrush Core Mini is that it always adds more geometry, while in the normal ZBrush it has an option to add more geometry whenever you do put more sculpting on it, or it just like it stays at the same level of polygons, and then it just kind of stretches those out instead. So whenever you smooth, it's not going to put that extra geometry unless you have that setting turned on, which is, I think, a setting at the top left side of the screen. I'm not too sure where. But yeah.
Can you say again how to use the move brush? Yes. In the top left-hand side, if you just click on the move brush, you go over here, and it works a little differently than the other brushes, because you basically select and move a mass of your clay based on how large your brush size is. Sorry about that. So typically for the move brush, you need a larger brush so it moves more mass. Because if you have a very small brush, it's gonna start moving stuff like this. Now there are uses for this. You can just, like, if you want to make really funny devil horns, that's a way of
doing it.
That's a way of doing it for sure. When you smooth here in ZBrush, like, yes, right now, whenever you smooth, it works like dynamic topology. Yes, exactly. That is not a normal feature of ZBrush. It is a feature of ZBrush Core Mini.
Yeah.
All right, but let's continue. So we are now at the H polish brush. And polish is a really good one. As you can see, when you look over, and typically, guys, whenever you're looking at the thumbnail for the brush, it actually showcases how it works. So in this case, you can see it polishes and makes something, it can give you a hard edge. And if we're making Frankenstein, I remember he had a pretty square head.
Yeah, I think so.
So if we take this brush, we make it relatively large, and we go to the side, we can kind of get an idea. And remember, symmetry always turned on. For now, anyways.
Yeah, symmetry is very nice. Usually you never turn it off until the end when you go a bit more into detail with your model, because then you can start... It basically, whenever you make a model, it can be very boring to look at a very symmetrical character, but while creating the base of your character, not having symmetry on makes the process of that really annoying. So it is very nice to have the symmetry on at first, and then whenever you feel quite satisfied with what you have and the overall detail of your character, then you can go and turn off symmetry, and then put a bit more like interesting details to make it, to break up the model a bit more and have it be less symmetrical.
Yeah. By the way, if your smoothing is removing mesh, it's because your it's because your draw size is too big. Make it smaller, and instead of removing, so right now, I'm adding mesh. If I make it really large, I'm gonna remove mesh. So the smaller your brush size is, the more mesh it's gonna add. The larger, the more it's gonna remove. So now this is our character, guys. Thanks for coming.
Beautiful. Oh. Yeah, that's great.
So I'm not sure if you caught on, but the polish, as you can see, the more you use it, the more it polishes and gives you hard edges. Now you gotta watch out with it, because you still want to maintain, some of your curvature, but it is a great way to kind of get the idea of where we're going for. So what I would do here is I would probably make it really, really flat, and then I would use my move brush to start giving him shape again. So flat, and then just...
Marius is right. We're starting to go into handsome Squidward territory.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be good. This is great. We just need a more
in the back of my mind
chin, right? He has a very butt chin.
He has a beautiful butt chin.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm creating. It's like a mix between handsome Squidward and Frankenstein. Frankenstein Squidward.
Do you mind me going over?
Of course, go over some questions. Yeah.
Earlier we had some other questions as well. If I can find it. We had one, is it difficult to get into CADA True Mags to study? So, I think it's definitely easier if you live in Denmark. That is not to say that it's not possible to get into the education if you're not from Denmark, though. We do have a lot of students who are come from like other countries, like internationally, and then attend the school and find a place to live. But it also becomes harder because the education is a paid education. So in that sense, it's like you would obviously have to be able to afford the school. And thankfully, Denmark, we do get paid for studying. which is very
There's
nice.
there's governmental aid that
Yeah.
helps us with paying for this. But yeah,
Yeah.
CADA is a private institute. It does cost a monthly fee to attend here.
Yeah.
There are in Denmark multiple ways of helping pay that fee. If you are international, you would likely have to speak to whatever government you're part of or whatnot to try and figure out.
Yeah.
Some people have even gotten scholarships. Some people got a job. I got 2 jobs to pay for this. And it's not necessary. The story is different for
everyone.
every student. But yeah,
But for the difficulty of it, if we focus a lot on, since we take students from pretty much 0 to 100, from like not knowing anything about 3D to industry ready. We also focus on the fact that whenever the school gets new students, not we get new students because we're also students, but when the school gets new students, it's focused a lot on if you're able to show that you are really engaged into the creativity and creative mindset of wanting to work in this industry. That gives you a big edge, and then being able to show that you have some of these different qualities, such as that it could literally be anything. You could be a photographer, you could be a painter, you could be all the different things that you can do in the creative space. You could be a like a physical sculptor for that matter, or you could have also just sat in Blender for a couple of years and gotten an interest through that. Like a lot of these different things help you be able to show that, hey, I'm really engaged and interested in joining this industry. So, which would help you obviously get into the school.
if you have a creative endeavor, it always helps. In my class, particularly, we have a bachelor student who just finished their architecture education, and they came over here to learn some 3D. We have a student that has a previous life as a fashion designer. 3D has a multitude of uses, and the school does not discriminate, and they only teach you the generals of the programs. They don't care about what you become afterwards. That is up to you.
Yeah. So you do learn a lot of pretty much creating your own path in a sense, and building towards what you want to build into. Like I really wanted to get into games, so that kind of from the start, I wasn't really sure at the beginning, and then further on throughout the education I got, learning more tools and learning new programs and skills, I got a really big interest in getting into games, which then I started to really focus on, and that's where I am right now, right? Working in games at a games company here in Denmark, which is such a cool experience. Not gonna lie, like actually being able
Can't
to
believe
get
it. You almost
into
swore.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to hold it back. No, but it's so cool. Like being
Yeah.
able to work at a company like that.
It definitely opens up
kind of-
possibilities and dreams.
Yeah.
Louisa, I hope that answered your question. If you're still confused about it, ask again. But it seemed like you figured it out. Is there a way to export usable quads out of ZBrush Mesh? In ZBrush, yes. And ZBrush has many ways. In the normal ZBrush, there are a multitude of ways to fix your mesh so it's not horrible like this. But in ZBrush Mini Core, you can only export it for 3D printing, which is a different file.
I'm pretty sure you can export it as an OBJ as well,
Okay, that would be export for 3D printing then. Yeah.
but I'm not too sure.
Speaking of, I think it's really good for us to learn about the save button. Control S. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just gonna save him on our desktop, and we're just gonna call him Frankendude.
Ranking dude.
Something to learn about any 3D program, not only ZBrush, not Blender, not Maya, all of them. They will crash one day. And if you crash and you haven't saved, you're losing all of your work, which is very sad sometimes.
Sometimes it also crashes every 5 minutes, and that's just because you're working with a lot of heavy things, and it happens. But that's where you gotta keep on
saving. Yeah. So okay. Let's continue with going over the last few brushes. The last ones are very simple and self-explanatory, but they're also the most fun. We have the chisel brushes. Now, in ZBrush, there is a phenomenon called VDMs. They stand for something. I don't know what it is. All you guys need to know is that they are pre-prepared, are black and white images that you can pull out, and then it'll give you an immediate mesh in your ZBrush. And I'll just show you so you don't have to try and figure out what the hell I'm saying. So right here, if we click on Chisel 3D, And it gives you a sub menu at the very top, and that menu is full of things. It has noses, it has mouths, it has ears, it has eyes, and you know what? I think our Frankenstein guy, he's missing some ears. So let's give him a droopy ear. So what you do is you select whichever one you want. You make sure your mirror or your symmetry is turned on. You position him, and you drag it out.
And now we're in Dobby territory.
Yeah.
Giga Chad Dobby.
So when you're dragging it out, the more you drag, the bigger it gets. And if you get really big, you can see you get a wonderful result. It's more a mouse now than anything else. And the smaller it gets, the more reasonable it gets. Maybe we want more like a goblin ear. Right now I can see it's turned funny, but maybe goblin ears work like that. And once you've gotten it out, you can make your brush really small. And you can start smoothing over to make sure it doesn't look so pixelated and low poly. And really make it a part of your mesh.
Oh, it is turn around.
I think I turned it around accidentally, or I think it's just a goblin ear in general. But
I don't feel like that would be optimal for a goblin either.
They always hear when somebody's behind them.
Oh, yeah,
they know
true.
At all times.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it normally, or maybe it's because I'm doing it in the wrong. Yeah, it's because I'm using symmetry and I'm using it the wrong side of the ear. So use the left side if you're getting the same result. But yeah, this is a great way to get some easy results, and sometimes a horrible way to get easy results. But yeah, as you can see, it doesn't quite work with what I got going here, but there you go.
So it's basically trying to project like an image on top of
3D. It is horrible, and maybe if we get a mouth, we can give him some lips. Oh, and so obviously you only have one pair of lips, so you don't have to turn symmetry on for this.
But symmetry does try to, even when you do have symmetry on, it kind of like tries to find the middle of it.
Yeah, but then it mirrors it.
It's
not a great result. It tries, but as you can see, it gets very strange.
Distorted.
Yeah. But this is an easy way to kind of make your own creature and add details that you're not necessarily prepared to add yourself.
We do need to add bolts though.
Yeah, we're adding bolts. And if you go to all the other chisel brushes, they have the exact same thing. So if you go over to chisel creature, which probably is better for us, so I'm going to Control Z. Now we can. Now this isn't bolts, but it's close.
Budget bolt.
There you go.
You made a bolt. You made a torrent from WoW.
Yeah, this is the defected torrent that we don't like.
Yeah.
Here we go. As you can see, we're really making some satanic stuff in here. Sponsored by CADA.
No, don't say that. Not sponsored.
But yeah, this is a great way to add details if you're having a difficult time doing it by yourself, and there are no rules to it. If it looks really when you add it and it looks really strange, you can smooth over the area before you add it to get a better result. How come these have height unlike alpha brushes? I don't know the technology behind it, so I sadly can't explain how it works. They are called VDMs if you want to look into it more and see the sort of like the technicality behind it.
But alpha brushes are usually just an image of like black and white, where it tries to get some information from that black and white image. Oh, there we have our bolt.
Yeah.
Or sort of.
Yeah, it kind of worked. The problem with these bolts is naturally that they're way too large.
Aggressive.
But in this case, we can actually turn down the intensity, and that way.
Go on, yeah.
That way, maybe it's a little too far turned down, but yeah, we can kind of find a sweet spot. Go ahead, no, sorry.
How do they register the height data? So, and again, don't quote me on it because my territory mostly lies when it comes to animation, not so much when it comes to these sorts of things with like alpha maps and such. But usually the height data gets like the information differently from not just like black or white colors. And you can kind of get it from like you've seen a lot of these height map where it's like a lot of different colors, like scrambled together, and you don't really know what you're looking at. And that, for example, kind of gives that like height difference, because it can tell what the different colors are supposed to like resemble in height and stuff, and where it should be going upwards and downwards and such. Again, very simple way of explaining the basic of it, but these brushes specifically, I'm pretty sure they've been made in a sense of it's a tool that's been created, or like some geometry that's been created onto a flat surface, and then that's been saved and then put into the program, allowing you to pretty much just replicate that specific model and project it onto other models. That's how you do it in ZBrush. You cannot do it in ZBrush Core Mini, as far as I know. But in the real ZBrush, you can make a lot of these custom brushes yourself. So if you've made like some sort of model on a flat plane, then you would be able to save that and use it differently. For example, what could you make? Like a rope or something, in theory, and then you could copy that out.
Many ways of working with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, going through it just to kind of round off, and then I feel like we should just like have some free play. I'll show you guys how to do a turntable super quick. But these are like this is like a very basic introduction to all of the brushes, what they do. As you can tell, all the chisel brushes are very, very self-explanatory. You drag out the result, and you can get something really cool. Do you think the earlier a person starts to study, the easier it'll be in the future? I think that's sort of more like a universal rule of life as opposed to 3D. I think the earlier you start anything, the easier you'll have to, the easier it'll be for you in the future in that regarding that subject.
The thing is with 3D, it or like in general, like design and all these different things, it evolves incredibly fast. Meaning that things keep evolving. That means programs, that means techniques. Now also AI being a huge talk in the industry in general when it comes to creative expression. And however they manage to do that. So saying like the earlier you start, the easier it'll be, not necessarily. I think the earlier you start, the more knowledge you'll have of being able to adapt yourself to future changes to the industry, and get that upper hand of knowing the level below what the future people can do, if that makes sense. Like, let's say that at some point in like a couple of years, a tool gets created that allows us to make a character really, really easily. But for the people that mostly start learning about the things at that point, they generally will only learn that method and how that works. But for example, us that's been working on things for a longer time, we have the basic or general understanding of these different things, meaning it becomes easier to understand the process of how this comes to be and why this works the way it does. So it's basically like it's also with drawing, except for drawing has kind of been stuck at a time of like when it comes to technique and stuff. But obviously the earlier you start drawing, the more time you have to perfect and hone those skills over time. It's the same case with 3D in general, except that 3D and design in general evolves very fast when it comes to the technical side of it.
Absolutely. I would add on that like you don't necessarily need to be a master at 3D or drawing or any particular art skill before you join. It'll make it easier for you to adapt in the beginning, but what you really should focus on is the big question of how am I personally with learning and adapting? Because this industry is never at a standstill, particularly this day and age. Yep. Like Mito just said, there's new AI, new programs, new things that makes everything easier. It just one of some of the latest releases in Unreal, you can legitimately just make a landscape by clicking a button, and you're almost done.
And like water, and specifically things like simming water, has been the biggest headache in the past. I haven't really experienced that. I started at a time where that it wasn't as big of a hassle. I haven't worked a lot with water and simulations, but it used to be like the most insanely draining things for people. And now you can kind of just go into Unreal, use one thing, or press one thing, or download a plugin, or whatever you can do. And then you have like perfectly looking water. So things like that, it kind of like it evolves to make it a lot more accessible for people over time. But it's also very nice to have the basic understanding of how these different things work.
Yeah,
and it's very nice to have that.
absolutely.
So do get started as early as possible, just to get into the world. It's a very cool world, I would say.
Yeah. Ever evolving.
Yeah.
Can you import eyes and noses, etc.? Not to ZBrush Core MIDI. I know we said that a lot tonight, but in ZBrush, like Marius suggested, you can actually there's a technology behind how these work, and you can make your own and then have it compatible. So yeah, the answer is yes, just not in ZBrush Core MIDI. Yeah.
We had a question earlier as well, from Rasul. So he asked, do companies provide their employees with specific versions of ZBrush, or we must work with the versions we have? Usually companies do have licenses for different programs that are being used in the company. So whenever you join a company, those licenses and programs will be provided to you, depending on the studio, but usually a studio is supposed to provide these different things for you to be able to work. And then obviously, depending on how big the studio is, the more they can afford when it comes to these programs. But usually some of the programs that are being used in the industry are things such as Maya or ZBrush for these specific things, and then it is generally a license that the company has provided to you.
Yep.
And usually also some of the newer, at least more stable versions of a program, because the programs also keep updating
All the time.
all the time,
time.
which means that they also have a high chance of breaking
All
right
the
when
time.
they get released, which can be very annoying for companies, which is why a lot of companies don't switch over to the newest versions of programs, because it kind of becomes a risk to the projects that they're working on as well, because if they have to keep on running into these different bugs that might be very, very game breaking for them and take up a lot of time, that time is money, and because they have to spend a lot of time on fixing that, that's a lot of money wasted.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to it.
So.
How do I select everything that I made and delete it? You can just click the create new sphere or create new stone mesh if you want to try that, and it'll delete everything you have. I do also believe, let me double check this.
But do save it before you do that, just to make
Yeah,
sure that you still
save
have your
it.
old one.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna have to do. So just press this button and you'll get a new one. Will we discuss? That is not. We can definitely like. I believe we're about to finish up anywho, so we can definitely take questions and talk a little bit about it. But for these beginner courses, we will not be talking about retopology and workflows around that, because it is simply. It's more in the realm of intermediate courses as opposed to beginner-friendly stuff.
Yeah, but like I also said earlier in the stream, we want to work towards these different boot camps to be able to teach you more than just some of these basics, and also go a bit more into depth, meaning that we might at some point in the future do a physical boot camp, or maybe an online, we'll see, where we can teach things such as rigging or retopologizing models, so you would be able to use them in games. That obviously also depends on people's interest or viewers' interest, if it's something that people would be really interested in getting into and learning, which makes a lot of sense, because yeah, as you can see on the model, a lot of the times it can break.
Fixed it.
But for now, it's mostly the basics of like modeling, texturing, sculpting, and animation that we'll be going through, and then later upcoming months maybe we might go into more advanced territory, if it interests people. And then specifically for the people who are available in Denmark, who would be able to come physically and get physical education of learning stuff, courses, then it might be easier to go into those specifics and be able to teach with some of the industry standard programs rather than just Blender and stuff, because we're still not at a time in the industry where Blender is the most used program. It's still things like Maya and ZBrush that are being used the most, and Blender is like an amazing tool because it's free and it's accessible for pretty much everyone. But we're not at a time right now where that is the basics of the industry. So yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely the industry's ever evolving. Blender's becoming more and more usable in the industry as well. So yeah, it's the best thing you can do if you're really interested in getting into the game industry, the VFX industry, or anything like that, is to try and follow outlets that talk about it. ArtStation has some incredibly nice articles that talk about all kind of things related to particularly the game and VFX industry.
Yeah. Or start at CADA Max, where you will also be learning a lot of these different things and getting industry ready.
Today.
Selfless plug.
It's definitely, you're definitely taught a lot of things. And one of the things you all should know is that CADA's goal is to, of course, make you a generalist, but particularly CADA's goal is also to prepare you for the industry. So give you deadlines, tasks, tell you how it's like when when you deliver and there's something wrong. All these kind of different things. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
Actually, while we were here, because we're kind of getting close to 7:00. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you guys who've been sculpting side by side with me how to make a little turntable so you can see your model.
Good point.
Now, there's a couple of things you can do here. So in the top middle of your program, you have 3 buttons. And if you hover over them, they tell you what they do. Export image, export for 3D printing, and record turntable. A lot of these things are very automated, but I believe if we click the export image, so you can take your model and you can line him up and pose him. Let's just say we really love this pose. And let's say we want him to be made of gold, because that's tacky. And we say export image. You get this, and we can try, you get a JPEG. Maybe we can choose something else. Yeah, you can do a PNG file. And we can type golden handsome devil.
Beautiful.
And now, if I open up my files, which is such a good thing for me to do right here, and I type G, here you go. So now it makes you a beautiful little picture of the golden handsome devil. But let's say you want something a little bit more showing and a little bit more interesting. You can click on the record turntable, and it should tell you that this feature is limited.
But that's fine.
That's fine. Okay, yeah, we're okay. It still works. And in the top, you can see the process of how long this takes. So we saved this movie, and this time I'll just do it in downloads. And now it's just going to record real quick. There we go. Now the movie has been rendered out, and you should have something looking like this. Okay, we'll put it on loop so it looks a little more interesting.
I'm not sure.
I think
cannot
let's do a different let's just do
that works as well.
There we go. You should have something looking like this. So if you want to show off what you've been doing, this is a way of doing it.
Does ZBrush has texturing, or do we need to do that in another software? ZBrush Core Mini doesn't, but the real ZBrush has something.
Hey, all right. Well, you can. Sorry, finish your thing.
No, I was just gonna say that ZBrush, the real ZBrush, has something called poly painting, which is a way of doing texturing in Engine or in the program. Again, the actual software is very expensive, so unless you have that, you will not be able to. But usually, you would take that. In production, you wouldn't texture in ZBrush either. You would export it out of out of ZBrush and then put it into something like Maya or something, then make the model production ready, and then you would be able to texture it in something like Substance Painter or 3D Code, any like industry texturing program, or Blender for that matter, if you just want to focus on shading, even though you can also do texturing in Blender. But yeah,
absolutely.
You were gonna say?
No, so again, this is not fit for this. This is not particularly fit for this course. But if you can also press export for 3D printing, and then you'll get a 3D model. That's called an OBJ file. You can take the OBJ file and you can put it into Substance Painter, which is a texturing program. You can put it into Maya. You can put it into Blender, and in there you can do some very limited texturing. In fact, there will be a texturing course coming up one of these days, and if you want to, you can sculpt something here, and you can say you can save it. The thing is, there's a whole other subset of things you have to prepare to be able to texture something, particularly something called unwrapping, and there is sadly a sea of issues with this mesh. It simply will not be able to accept proper texturing. You might be able to get away with it, but there's more to it than just taking the model and painting on it. So you can try, and you can export it as an OBJ and try and look up a Blender tutorial of how to texture something in hand. But
we will go through it in one of the upcoming bootcamps. So do pay attention, or if you want, or you really like this course, do consider joining in for the next upcoming weeks as well. Every Wednesday at 5:30 or 17:30 p.m. What is Central Eastern Time, European stuff? Yes. Denmark time.
Danish time, Copenhagen. I think it's GMT +1.
Something like that. Teacher, quick help. May I ask what the default button size from preference interface UI button size?
Okay. This.
We're opening.
I'll open up ZBrush. I'll show you, because we're kind of getting to the hour where we're just gonna take questions. I'll show you what to do. But I'll make it super quick, because we are focusing on ZBrush Core Mini in this course, and I don't want to make it too confusing. Yeah. But yeah, I can definitely show you how to reset it and how to make it not look that way. So this is what the normal ZBrush looks like. We will not go over anything like crazy, but this is what the normal ZBrush looks like when you open it up. So Icy Film, for you, if you want to just reset everything so you have the default screen like me, you can go up to Preferences. You find that tab in the middle top of your screen, and you can press this big fat button that's called Initialize ZBrush. When you click this button, it's going to ask you if you're sure about it. Basically, what initializing ZBrush does is that it resets your entire UI and it makes it look default. So, click it, and now you wait. And for me, nothing's going to happen. Oh yeah, it's going to change the size of the screen, which is nice. If you didn't find this draw size, it's right here.
For the earlier question.
You can also just press S. We'll leave it at that, though. We'll go back to mini core.
But what was the question? It was preference interface UI button size? Oh, it's just to go back to the basics thing.
Yeah, the default. Yeah.
Really small. Okay.
UV map is the base of my existence. It becomes tolerable.
Yeah.
At some point.
After you're forced to do it a couple of times, it's like, okay, you know what? Actually, it can be kind of chill to just sit in UV mode. I don't do it. I mostly just animate.
I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, but honestly, it's not that bad.
It's all right.
And I think at least in Blender, Blender has some nice plugins
automated
to make it less of a pain.
Yeah. There's more automated stuff coming out every day. Yeah, maybe we should give this guy some.
But yeah,
looking at.
So the question: what tool are we going to use for texturing? We will be using Blender most likely. I do at some point for the physical boot camps use Substance Painter, since that is the industry standard when it comes to texturing, or one of the industry standards. But I think for this time, for now, so that everyone else can follow along as well. We will be using Blender to give the base of what texturing can do.
Yes.
And that allows for everyone as well that only has Blender to be able to use that for their own small little projects. I do also want to mention that we will be using Blender for a lot of these different things. We don't really use Blender. I'm not that familiar with Blender, but the general understanding of 3D can be used no matter what type of program that you use. So even though we mostly just use Maya and not Blender, a lot of the things are still the same in Blender. It's just you have to learn where to find it, because the core concept of them are very similar. And that counts for texturing as well, even though I'm not too sure if you can actually like hand paint texture in Maya. You probably can, but it's like maybe a bit more.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the workflow on that one. I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me if it's possible, but yeah, you'll find out that one of the realities of doing anything related to 3D is that you are going to become quadruple, fifth tuple lingual in programs. You will have about 4 to 5 softwares under your belt that you will eventually master, and this is a necessary precaution to take to truly be able to do things. There are some Blender is probably a program that can probably do everything, but doing everything doesn't necessarily mean it masters it. So you can sculpt in Blender, which is a wonderful tool and it's free and nice, but there's a reason why ZBrush is still considered industry standard, and it is simply because ZBrush is a specialized program for sculpting. Yeah. And then Substance Painter is a specialized program for making textures.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think should we show them real quick some of the things that we've made?
Yeah. Do you want to look at something more fun?
Like let's do something introduction in an hour, and then
I don't even know if I have, because I haven't really popped it. But yeah, why don't you go ahead first?
So I can just like show one ZBrush model that I did, just so you can get an idea of what's possible with these different programs. And obviously I've been using the real ZBrush and not ZBrush Core Mini for that. So do keep in mind that there are some limits to what you can do. But even then, it's like ZBrush Core Mini is still a very nice baseline for some of these.
And somebody wanted to see your animations as well. So if you have a little something.
That's true. The pressure's on though. Can I like do this? I can. Okay, so this is one model that I made. Can you see that even? Yeah, you can. Does it not? Oh, you can loop it. So if anyone knows, I am a big fan of League of Legends. So
just an indie game.
Indie studio. You might not know it. So I just made this model, which was very fun. So that's an example of a thing that you can do in a program like this. And yeah, and this obviously took a bit of time and not just 1 hour. League of Legends, yeah, it's Fist from League of Legends, if anyone recognizes it.
Fish is the shark, right?
Fizz, no, that's Longtooth.
Oh.
You fucking no. Oh, you freaking
freak.
So yeah, that is. I don't know. Do you have anything on?
Yeah. I'm sending you. I'm just sending you it on Teams now, so we can just pull it up.
Are we?
Yeah. Don't. We can go over it super quickly. It's not too relevant, but
yeah.
Yeah, because then, do you want to go over the animations first?
Sure.
Just so somebody asked about animations earlier, and Matthias here, he specializes in that kind of thing. So you guys should definitely get a treat just to see how it is and what you can look forward to be taught, right?
You're giving me a lot of credit. I don't know how I feel about that.
Its sound is muted in OBS.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, so this is some of the animation that I've done. I've mostly been doing a lot of game-related animation. Do you know Faker then? No, I don't know. I wish I knew Faker like IRL, but so these are some of the things that I've been doing for animation stuff. Right now, I'm obviously working at a game studio, meaning that I am not allowed to show what I'm working on because I'm under NDA. But so I cannot show this. This specifically is from a game that I created with a couple of friends from my class, from my thesis project. But yes, so some of that stuff. That's what I've done as an example. And yeah, let me just do this to make sure that they cannot see.
Oh yeah, just pull. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you see us now.
Yeah. I think I saw a question super quick. Maybe we should go over it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Oh wait, no, that's so cool. Oh, okay, never mind. We got it.
Now you've got us all feeling like we can't reach. No, you definitely can reach that level. I'm not very focused on sculpting specifically as well, so I'm not too familiar with a lot of these different. I haven't worked a lot with it. So there's definitely with some practice and stuff, you can definitely make some cool things. The same as animation. I will be doing animation courses for Bootcamp later on during the month, but is that demo or actual Zelda? Well, that's not actual Zelda. That's what I meant.
It's a compliment.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, you're on 7th or 8th?
I'm on 7th semester, which is the last semester of CADA Max.
Yeah.
And it's just focused on internships. So I will be, I'm in an internship until at some point, and then after that, I will go into actual work.
Yeah. And I'm on 3rd semester, and here is some of my work. A lot of these, the things that I've been working on are from school projects. We have a lot of creative freedom, and the school only asks us to follow certain standards and certain rules for whatever we're doing. But either way, here's some work that I've done, and I'm in 3rd semester, so I'm about a year and then some into the school.
Maybe open the
yeah I'm just gonna pull it up and throw it over, so I won't show all of this, but earlier so I can show you what my one of my first year projects looked like. Oh my god, just give me 1 second, you guys, because we're kind of downloading it. I'll just download a couple of things so you guys don't have to worry too much. It's also not the point of anything, but
that's a very nice render, by the way, or like a very nice texturing.
Oh, here? Oh, okay, let's that.
You guys can't see it right now, but
we're pulling it up.
Yeah,
no, we're just talking about it behind your back.
Yeah, you won't be able to see it.
There you go. I think that's fine. Maybe I can just show this last one.
Do that.
All right, cool. Okay, so that's for you.
Are you scouted from school directly in Denmark? Wait, I'm confused about that.
The school is headhunting you to be here.
Oh, well, I attend the school, so that's headhunting a student. I don't know.
There we go. So this is a sculpt, one of my first humanoid sculpts. It's Hellboy. In case anyone was curious, this took me about a week to make. A lot of studying, a lot of problems with it, but it was fun. And obviously, as a student, what you have to focus on is not your shortcomings. Well, in a way, but you have to focus on learning. So here, I learned a lot about anatomy, and I learned a lot about presentation and fun. Although I found out through this project that I wanted to focus on more environment stuff, and I still love sculpting, so I wanted to figure out how I could include it, and I began making something like this. This is for a project where we had to make an interior scene of our choice, and as you can see, a lot of the rocky interior has been sculpted. And that is me sculpting it, preparing it, texturing it, and then we got this funny little scene. And I'll quickly go over the rest.
That was your first.
That was my first project. But to be completely clear, I had worked with 3D prior. So yeah, but this was still my first, which is it feels good.
Very fun.
This is my most recent project. Some of you may recognize this character. He is from a game called Elden Ring, and he's a giant pot man who follows and fights with you, and he's very cute and charismatic. And yeah, I decided to sculpt him.
He's so cool. I love him.
It's a lot of detail, a lot of fun stuff. And then the last character that is more stylized is for another project where we have to make a video game. And we have to make a character for that. And I made this lady here, textured and everything. And yeah,
we get to do a lot of projects at school, like making games or short films, these type of things. So we do get to work in a lot of different areas in the 3D world, which is a very nice experience.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, are you getting grabbed by headhunters? I haven't yet. Well, actually, I have been a bit. There have been a couple of companies reaching out to me if I was interested.
Used to me. That's crazy. That's so cool.
No big deal. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, but it's a very, very cool experience to get headhunted. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
These streams will be available to watch after it's done, right? Yes. They will. I don't think they'll go away. Actually, if you just go onto the YouTube channel that you're on, and then there's a tab called Live. I'm pretty sure. Then you'll be able to see all the different streams that we do. We have done a lot of previous streams in the past where we had another teacher teaching in a lot of these different things. Though from here, like from this and going on, I do want to try and change the way it's set up a bit to make it to get some interesting lessons as well, rather than like repeating a lot of the different or the same things over and over every month. So hopefully everyone would like that. So do tune in the next couple of times as well, and the upcoming months. I would love to see you guys' names again, because I will be here for most of the boot camps, and then you'll probably also get to meet some other students. So yeah, is every student handsome like you two? Stop. I just had to read that. It just
where did that comment come from?
Flashed into my eyes.
What was that?
Oh, did I write that? Oh, no.
That would be the funniest one. But yeah.
So yeah.
As a student, what you can expect from CADA is when you come over here, you can expect to work a lot with the other students. Yeah. You can expect to learn a lot from the other students as well. For example, in my class, we have people that specialize in everything. We have environment modelers, we have sculptors, we have texture artists, we have riggers, people that prepare characters to be animated. We have character artists, we have animators like Matthias, we have lighting artists. There's even something called a grooming artist, which is people that specifically only prepare hair for characters.
Yeah, like digital hair.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick, like for creatures and stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of people will ask themselves, well, what's an example of somebody getting a job in the industry for only that? If any of you are familiar with the game Baldur's Gate 3, they have a section in their company that only makes hair. That's all they do. It's a small section, but there are people that are only hired to digitally create hair for characters. So if you have a niche and you're good at it, you can probably find a job.
You can do so many things in 3D. It's crazy. You don't realize until you actually start working with it with how complicated it is, or like how many different things you can specialize in. It's such a cool experience getting to learn all these different things, which we get the experience to do. And now we want to share some of that that knowledge, I guess, with everyone as well. So yeah. But I think we should start to
pack up.
Yeah, and say thanks for today. It was very enjoyable. I hope everyone enjoyed it as well, as much as we did. And big thanks to Bowie as well for coming on and wanting to help out with some sculpting and for some chatting. So that was very nice. May I ask the name of the school? It's called CADA Trumax. So basically what the YouTube channel is called, that's the name of the school. Yeah, we'll send a link to the website real quick, hopefully. Yeah. So do check that out if you're interested in something like that. And is it possible for other country citizens to go to that school too? It is, but you would have to then move to Denmark and study physically. It's not just online, sadly. I learned a lot from this, not only about ZBrush but about the industry. I'm very glad to hear that. I'm very
means a
happy
lot. That means a lot.
that it turned out good.
Yeah.
The whole stream. So I really hope to see you guys next time as well. If you're interested in learning more, the other things that we'll be doing, I'm not too sure what we'll be doing next time. It might be modeling, or something like that. But I think we'll do some reminders on our social media. Do check out our social media as well, like Instagram and what do we have? Instagram, Facebook,
there's
TikTok.
some socials at the bottom of the screen as well. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Discord. We do have a Discord.
We do have Discord. Would love to actually in the Discord. There is a channel called like Guest General something, or 3D Bootcamp maybe. I would love to see what you guys have done. And do if you want to, and if you're brave enough, I guess, feel free to send some pictures of what you've done.
Yeah, you will not. You will not be. You will absolutely not be ridiculed. Anything. We love to see new work.
Yeah.
Assignment and homework. Do we do that? Do you do that?
The thing is, every time we do, like
join Discord and post your sculpt. That's your homework.
Yeah, true.
And if you haven't made one, make one and post it.
There's no homework mostly because we will be doing different subjects every time, so it wouldn't really make sense to have something specific since we'll be teaching a lot of new things every time with different subjects. So other than that, I guess you can have some personal homework of just try and practice what you've learned during the stream. Try to make your own personal project with all the different things that we've gone through. That would be a really good way for you guys to repeat it as well, because when it comes to 3D, repetition,
everything,
such as that's the same case for drawing and similar things. Repetition is so crucial because that's kind of how you get into that workflow of doing these different things and remembering where the key bindings are and all that good stuff. So if you are interested in doing that, then that's your homework, I guess. I've seen the CADA expect students to come with a certain level of experience. How experienced do you have to be to get into the program? I don't think you have to have experience in 3D as a base. I didn't really have. Most of the people at the school didn't really have any experience when it came to 3D, but they had experience in other different types of creative spaces, or a lot of people also had some experience in Blender and trying all of these different things. Following these boot camps and then taking some screenshots and stuff would also be a really good way of showing, hey, that you're really interested and committed to this.
Absolutely.
So following along of these and making sure that you note or like save the pictures and stuff of your work. That would be a really good way of showing that you're interested in this.
Yeah,
this type of thing.
I think the only thing, and probably one of the last good comments, we can only tell you what we do and what we did to get in. And personally, what I did to get into the school is that I had some projects I made beforehand, and I showed them. And I also showed them there is an old game engine that is not being used by anybody anymore called Source Filmmaker in the Source engine. And you had pre-made Team Fortress 2 and take an animate. And I made an animation and I showed that to the school and accumulated all my work and my interest in telling them that, hey, I am interested and here's some work to prove that I'm really interested. Helps a lot. Let's just say that if the decision comes down to you who have shown all your work and all your interest and someone that hasn't, you will be picked.
Yeah, 100%. It's about showing your dedication, I guess, and interest.
Don't have to be a master. The school will take care of that.
You will become industry ready by attending this school. So don't have the expectation of thinking that you have to be a professional sculptor or modeler right when starting. I guess that's the best way of saying it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Tommy. Hi, Tommy.
Tommy? Oh, hey, it looks cool. Hey, thanks. That's he set us up today. Thanks for that.
So yeah, but again, we should head off because it's getting late now. So really, thanks a lot, everyone, for attending. It was a lot of fun, and really happy to have you all be active and stuff in chat, asking questions.
Yeah, that means a lot. It
would be amazing to see you guys next week as well. So yeah, everyone, take care. thanks for coming, and hope to see you next time.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, take care. Goodbye.